The moment I see her text, I know something's off. It's a simple message, something about working late again. But there's a strange tone in her words, an overly casual phrasing that doesn't sit right. My gut tells me to dig deeper. I've always trusted Amanda, my wife of 7 years. But this feels different. I glance at the clock. It's almost 8 p.m. The office isn't far, but she hasn't mentioned an urgent deadline all week. My hands tighten around my phone as I scroll through our message history. Something catches my eye. Let's grab dinner. My treat. Sent a few days ago to someone named Chris W. Chris W. A name I vaguely recall her mentioning once or twice. A coworker. She'd laughed it off when I asked about him before, calling him a work buddy. But this text exchange isn't just friendly. I can feel my pulse quicken, anger bubbling up like magma ready to erupt. I tell myself to calm down. Maybe I'm overreacting. Maybe there's a logical explanation. But then I notice something else, a notification from a bank app. She just charged dinner to our joint credit card at a bistro downtown. Not her office, not a group dinner. The place is known for being quiet and intimate, the kind of spot for dates, not business. That's it. I grab my keys, my mind racing. I'm not the type to jump to conclusions, but I need answers. And I'm getting them tonight. As I drive, the city lights blur past. My emotions are a storm. Hurt, betrayal, fury. I park down the street from the restaurant, my breath uneven as I step out. I'm not sure what I'll do when I see her. Will I confront her? Will I watch and wait? As I walk closer, I spot her through the window. She's laughing, her hand brushing Chris's arm. He leans in, saying something that makes her giggle like a teenager. My fists clench, my nails biting into my palms. It's not just the laughter. It's the look in her eyes. I've seen it before, but not for years. Not for me. My heart pounds as I step inside, adrenaline surging. Every detail sharpens, the clinking of glasses, the hum of conversation. And then, her voice. Soft, light, filled with affection. It stops me in my tracks. I stand a few feet away, unnoticed. Chris whispers something, and Amanda places her hand on his. My mind goes blank, every emotion boiling over into one burning thought. I can't let this slide. Enjoying yourself? My voice cuts through the air like a whip. She looks up, startled, her face draining of color as her eyes meet mine. Chris freezes, his hand halfway to his drink. Aaron, she stammers, her voice barely audible. She pulls her hand back, as if that will erase what I just saw. The restaurant falls silent. Every pair of eyes is on us now. My jaw tightens as I glance between the two of them, daring Chris to speak. He doesn't. Amanda swallows hard, her hands trembling slightly as she tries to explain. It's not what it looks like. I laugh, a sharp, bitter sound that echoes in the quiet room. Really? Because it looks like my wife is on a date with her work buddy. Why don't you enlighten me, Amanda? She opens her mouth, but no words come out. Chris shifts uncomfortably, his gaze darting toward the door. My hands curl into fists at my sides. He's scared, and he should be. The silence hangs heavy, broken only by the distant clatter of dishes in the kitchen. Amanda looks up at me, her face a mix of guilt and panic. Chris fumbles for words, but he can't meet my eyes. I think I'll just go, Chris stammers, his voice barely above a whisper. He starts to rise, but I block his path, stepping closer. My jaw is clenched, my chest tight with the effort to stay composed. Oh no, Chris. Stay, I say, my voice sharp as glass. I'd love to hear your version of this little rendezvous. His hands shake as he sits back down, trapped under the weight of the moment. Amanda reaches out, her voice trembling. Aaron, please. Let's talk about this at home. At home? I laugh bitterly. Amanda, you're here playing house with this guy, and you want to talk about it later? No. We're talking now. The other diners are staring, some pretending not to, others leaning in as if this is the evening entertainment. Amanda's eyes dart around, her cheeks flushed with embarrassment. Aaron, please, she says again, her voice cracking. It's not what you think. Not what I think. I scoff. You're holding his hand, laughing like a teenager in love. Tell me, Amanda, how exactly does this look to anyone with eyes? She stares at me, her lips trembling, but she doesn't answer. Chris clears his throat, daring to speak. Look, man, don't, I snap, my glare cutting him off. You don't get to speak. You don't get to explain. This is between me and my wife. Chris shrinks back, his courage evaporating. Amanda's eyes fill with tears, but I don't care. My heart is pounding, my mind replaying every suspicious moment over the past few months, every excuse, every lie. This isn't just dinner, is it? I demand. My voice is louder now, and Amanda flinches. Tell me the truth, Amanda. How long has this been going on? She shakes her head, her hands gripping the edge of the table. Aaron, I swear, it's not what you think. We were just talking about work. Talking about work? I gesture around the room. In a romantic restaurant? Holding hands? Amanda, don't insult me. Her silence is answer enough. My fists clench, my anger threatening to spill over. You know what? Forget it. I'll save you the trouble. Enjoy the rest of your work meeting, Amanda. I'm done. I turn on my heel, my footsteps heavy as I head for the door. Behind me, I hear her chair scrape against the floor as she stands. Aaron, wait, she calls, her voice desperate. I pause, my hand on the door. I glance back, my eyes locking with hers. For a moment, I see the woman I married, the woman I thought I knew. But then I see Chris, pale and nervous, and the moment shatters. Goodbye, Amanda, I say, my voice cold. Then I push the door open and walk out into the night. The cool night air hits me like a slap, but it does nothing to cool the fire raging in my chest. My footsteps are heavy as I head to my car, the echoes of Amanda's desperate voice chasing me. Aaron, please wait, she yells again, but I don't stop. She catches up as I reach the driver's side, grabbing my arm. Aaron, let me explain, she pleads, her tears glistening under the dim streetlight. I shake her off, my voice low and filled with restrained fury. Explain? Oh, I can't wait to hear this one. She takes a shaky breath, her hands trembling. It's not what it looks like. Chris and I, we're just friends. We were talking about work, I swear. Friends? I laugh, the bitterness burning my throat. Friends don't sit in candlelit restaurants, holding hands and looking at each other like that. Don't insult my intelligence, Amanda. Her lips part, but no words come out. I watch as she falters, her excuses crumbling under my glare. The anger in me shifts, replaced by something colder, sharper. Disappointment. Do you think I'm stupid? I ask, my voice quieter now, more dangerous. Do you think I wouldn't notice? The late nights, the secrets, the sudden distance between us. I ignored it because I trusted you. But tonight, you shattered that. Tears stream down her cheeks as she shakes her head. Aaron, you never meant for me to find out, is that it? I interrupt. Because let me tell you, Amanda, you didn't just hurt me tonight. You broke every bit of trust we've built over the last 7 years. She reaches for my hand, but I step back. Aaron, please, I love you, she whispers, her voice cracking. I scoff, the sound raw and filled with pain. Love? Don't throw that word at me. If you loved me, you wouldn't be sneaking around with him. Her face crumples, and for a brief second, I feel the urge to pull her into my arms, to comfort her. But then I remember Chris's face, her laughter, the way she looked at him. That image burns in my mind, fueling my resolve. I'm going home, I say firmly. Don't follow me. Don't call me. Figure out what you want, Amanda, because I'm not playing second fiddle to anyone. Before she can respond, I climb into the car and slam the door shut. The engine roars to life, and I peel out of the parking lot, leaving her standing there, broken and crying. As I drive, the reality of what just happened sinks in. The woman I thought I'd spend my life with betrayed me. My grip tightens on the wheel as anger and hurt churn inside me. I won't let her destroy me. If she's choosing him, then it's time I make my own choices. The drive home feels like a blur. By the time I pull into the driveway, the house looms in the darkness, quiet and empty, a stark contrast to the chaos in my mind. As I sit there in the car, staring at the place Amanda and I built together. A bitter thought takes root. Maybe it was never ours to begin with. I step inside, slamming the door behind me. The sound echoes through the house, but there's no one to hear it. My chest heaves as I try to breathe through the rage. Every memory of her, of us, feels tainted now. The laughter we shared, the plans we made, the trust one thought was unshakable. All of it feels like a lie. But I can't wallow in this. If she wants to play games, I'll show her what happens when you cross someone who gives everything and gets nothing in return. My mind sharpens, the fog of pain lifting to make way for something else. Clarity. I grab my laptop from the kitchen table and sit down, the screen casting a cold glow in the dim room. Amanda might think she's clever, sneaking around with her coworker, but she underestimates me. I've always been meticulous. Whether it's my job or my personal life, I don't miss a thing. The first thing I do is log into our shared bank account. I scroll through the recent transactions, my eyes narrowing as I spot charges I don't recognize. Restaurants, wine bars, even a jewelry store. My stomach turns, but I push the anger aside. This isn't just about catching her. This is about making her face the consequences. Next, I search through her social media accounts. Her settings are private, but I know her passwords. It doesn't take long to find photos of her and Chris, subtle but damning. Group dinners where they're seated too close, candid shots where they're laughing together. Nothing overt, but the context is clear. To anyone else, it might seem innocent. To me, it's a trail of breadcrumbs leading to the truth. I spend the next few hours gathering everything I can. Screenshots, receipts, photos. Every piece of evidence I can find. If Amanda wants to rebuild trust, she'll have to explain all of this. And if she can't, well, I'll be prepared for that too. By the time I finish, it's past midnight. My hands are shaking, not from exhaustion, but from the sheer force of the emotions swirling inside me. Betrayal, yes, but also determination. Amanda might think she's in control, but that ends now. As I close the laptop, I hear the faint sound of a car pulling into the driveway. My jaw tightens. She's here. The front door opens slowly, and Amanda steps inside, her eyes red and swollen from crying. She stops when she sees me sitting there, my arms crossed, the laptop on the table in front of me. Her lips part as if to speak, but I cut her off with a sharp look. "We need to talk," I say, my voice cold and unyielding. And this time, Amanda, I want the truth. Amanda stands frozen in the doorway, her hands clutching the strap of her purse as if it's the only thing keeping her grounded. Her lips tremble, but no words come out. I motion to the chair across from me at the kitchen table. "Sit," I say flatly. She hesitates, her eyes darting between me and the door. For a second, I think she might run. But then she exhales shakily and steps forward, lowering herself into the chair. Her posture is defensive, her shoulders hunched, her hands wringing nervously. She begins, but I hold up a hand. "Save it," I snap, my voice sharper than I intended. "I've heard enough lies for one night. What I want now is the truth." She stares at me, her eyes wide and glossy. "Aaron, I'm so sorry," she whispers. "It wasn't what it looked like." I slam my hand on the table, making her flinch. "Don't give me that," I roar. "Don't you dare sit there and insult my intelligence. I saw you. I saw how you looked at him. I saw the way he touched you. And you want me to believe it's not what it looked like?" Tears stream down her face as she shakes her head. "It's not an affair, Aaron. I swear. I was just confused." "Confused?" I lean forward, my voice dripping with sarcasm. "Tell me, Amanda, what's confusing about being married? Is it the vows? The commitment? The part where you don't date other people?" "I didn't mean for this to happen," she pleads. "Chris and we've been working closely on a project. We started talking more and what?" I cut her off, my tone icy. "You decided to see how far you could take it before I noticed? Or were you hoping I wouldn't?" "No," she cries, her voice breaking. "I wasn't thinking. It was stupid, and I never should have." "Should have what?" I snap. "Gone to dinner? Held his hand? Lied to my face every time you said you were working late?" Her sobs grow louder, her face crumpling under the weight of my words. For a brief moment, I feel a pang of guilt, but it's buried under the mountain of anger and betrayal. "I love you, Aaron," she whispers, her voice barely audible. "I made a mistake, but it didn't mean anything." I laugh bitterly, leaning back in my chair. "Didn't mean anything? Amanda, you shattered my trust. Do you have any idea how hard that is to rebuild? Do you even care?" Her head snaps up, and for the first time, there's fire in her eyes. "Of course I care," she shouts. "I've been beating myself up over this for weeks. I didn't know how to tell you, how to fix it. So you just kept doing it?" I counter, my voice rising. "You kept sneaking around, hoping I wouldn't find out?" She covers her face with her hands, her shoulders shaking as she sobs. "I didn't mean for it to get this far," she whispers. "I was scared." "Scared of what?" I demand. "Scared of me finding out? Or scared of losing the life you've built on my trust?" Her silence speaks volumes. I shake my head, the disappointment cutting deeper than the anger. "I gave you everything, Amanda. I trusted you. And this is how you repay me?" She looks up, her face streaked with tears. "Aaron, please. I'll do anything to fix this. I'll cut Chris off. I'll go to counseling. Whatever it takes. Just don't give up on us." I stare at her, my heart pounding as 1,000 thoughts race through my mind. Can I forgive her? Can I trust her again? Or is this the end of everything we've built together? Her words hang in the air, fragile and desperate. Amanda's plea, "Don't give up on us," echoes in my mind, but it only fans the flames of my anger. I sit back in my chair, arms crossed, watching her squirm under my gaze. Part of me wants to believe her, to hold on to the life we've built. But another part of me, the part that saw her with him, screams that it's already over. "You'll do anything to fix this?" I say, my voice cold and measured. She nods quickly, tears streaming down her face. "Anything, Aaron," she whispers. "I'll cut him off. I'll quit my job if I have to. Just tell me what to do." I lean forward, my elbows on the table, and fix her with a steely glare. "Then here's what you're going to do. First, you're cutting Chris off, completely. No calls, no texts, no emails, no contact of any kind. You're going to tell him it's over, and I want proof." She nods again, her hands trembling. "I can do that." "Second," I continue, "you're giving me access to everything. Your phone, your email, your social media. No secrets, no excuses. If I ask to see something, you show me. Do you understand?" Her face pales, but she nods. "Yes, I understand." "And third," I say, my voice dropping to a deadly calm, "you're going to explain every single lie you've told me, every deception, every moment you spent with him. No matter how small or insignificant it seems, I want to know. And if I catch you in another lie, Amanda, we're done." Her lower lip trembles as she processes my words. "I'll tell you everything," she says, her voice barely above a whisper. "I swear, Aaron, I'll do whatever it takes." I lean back, my arms still crossed, and stare at her for a long moment. "You have one chance," I say finally. "One. If you screw this up, if I even think you're hiding something, I'm gone. Do you understand?" "Yes," she says quickly, her voice breaking. "I understand." "Good," I say, standing up, "because I'm not putting up with this for a second longer than I have to." I walk past her, heading for the stairs. "Where are you going?" she asks, her voice shaky. "To bed," I say without looking back. "Alone." The words hit her like a slap, and I hear her stifle a sob as I climb the stairs. My mind is spinning as I enter the bedroom, shutting the door behind me. The room feels colder, emptier, as I sit on the edge of the bed, my head in my hands. Can I really do this? Can I live with the constant doubt, the nagging questions, the fear that she might betray me again? I don't know, but I know one thing for certain. I'm not the same man I was before tonight, and neither is our marriage. The morning light seeps through the blinds, harsh and uninvited. My head throbs as I sit up in bed, the events of last night crashing back like a tidal wave. I barely slept, tossing and turning as anger and doubt battled for control of my mind. The house is silent as I make my way downstairs. Amanda is at the kitchen table, a cup of coffee clutched in her hands. She looks up when she hears me, her eyes red and swollen from crying. For a moment, we just stare at each other, the weight of everything unsaid hanging heavy between us. "Good morning," she says softly, her voice tentative. I don't respond. Instead, I head to the coffee maker, pouring myself a cup without looking at her. The tension in the room is suffocating, but I don't know how to break it, or if I even want to. "I called Chris this morning," she says after a long silence. "I told him it's over. I blocked his number." Her voice catches, and she takes a shaky breath. "I did what you asked." I take a slow sip of my coffee, letting her words sink in. It's a start, but it's not enough. Not yet. "I need to see it," I say, my voice flat. "The messages, the calls. I need proof." She nods quickly, reaching for her phone. She unlocks it and slides it across the table to me. "Here, look at whatever you need." I set my coffee down and pick up the phone, scrolling through her messages. Sure enough, there's a text thread with Chris, the last message from her. "This has to stop. I can't do this anymore. Please don't contact me again." I stare at the words, my chest tightening. It's what I wanted to see, but it doesn't erase the betrayal. I scroll further, reading the earlier messages, each one a dagger to the heart. The flirtation, the late-night exchanges, the plans to meet. It's all there, laid out in black and white. I set the phone down and look at her, my jaw clenched. "Why, Amanda? Why would you do this?" Her eyes fill with tears again, and she shakes her head. "I don't know," she whispers. "I was stupid. I let things get too far, and I didn't know how to stop." "Didn't know how to stop?" I repeat, my voice rising. "Amanda, you made a choice. Over and over again, you chose him." She covers her face with her hands, her shoulders shaking. "I know," she sobs. "I hate myself for it. I hate what I've done to you, to us." Her tears don't move me. They don't undo the damage or erase the image of her with him. I take a deep breath, trying to calm the storm inside me. "This isn't going to be fixed overnight," I say finally, my voice cold. "If it can be fixed at all. You have a lot to prove, Amanda, and I'm not making any promises." She looks up at me, her face streaked with tears. "I'll do whatever it takes," she says. "Just don't give up on us." I nod slowly, though my heart feels heavier than ever. "We'll see." Without another word, I grab my coffee and head to the living room. I need space, time to think. Amanda might be willing to fight for us, but I'm not sure I have the strength to fight back. The hours crawl by as I sit in the living room, staring at nothing. The coffee grows cold in my hand, untouched since I left the kitchen. Amanda's words echo in my mind, her promises, her apologies, but they feel hollow, like the air after a storm, heavy and suffocating. I keep replaying the moment I walked into that restaurant, the way she looked at him. It wasn't just a passing glance. It was a connection, something that should only exist between us. My stomach churns, and I set the coffee mug down before my shaking hands can spill it. Amanda stays upstairs for most of the morning. The quiet is deafening, and with every passing minute, the weight of doubt grows heavier. Can I trust her again? Or is this just the beginning of a long, slow unraveling? My phone buzzes on the coffee table, breaking my thoughts. I pick it up and see a message from Mark, my best friend. "You okay, man? Heard anything?" I forgot I'd told him about last night in the heat of the moment, needing someone to vent to. Mark's been my rock through rough times, but even now, I hesitate to tell him everything. I type out a quick reply, "Not really. Just trying to figure things out." His response comes almost instantly. "Don't let her off easy, Aaron. If she can do this once, she can do it again." The words hit like a punch to the gut. I know he's trying to look out for me, but they add fuel to the fire already burning inside me. Is this who Amanda really is? Someone who could betray me so easily, so thoughtlessly? I toss the phone onto the couch and run a hand through my hair, frustration bubbling over. Sitting here, stewing in my thoughts, isn't helping. I need clarity, but I don't know where to find it. A soft knock at the living room doorway pulls me from my thoughts. I look up to see Amanda standing there, her arms crossed tightly over her chest. She looks small, vulnerable, but I can't let that sway me. Not yet. Can we talk? She asks, her voice barely audible. I nod stiffly, gesturing to the chair across from me. She hesitates, then sits down, her hands fidgeting in her lap. I know you don't believe me, she starts, her eyes fixed on the floor. And I don't blame you. I broke your trust, and I don't know if I can ever fix it. But I need you to know, it wasn't love. It wasn't even about him. It was, I don't know, a stupid, selfish way of escaping my own insecurities. Her words catch me off guard, and for a moment, I just stare at her. Insecurities? I ask, my voice sharp. Amanda, we've been married for 7 years. I've been there for you through everything, and you chose this as your escape? She flinches but doesn't look away. I don't expect you to understand. I don't even understand it myself, but I know I've hurt you, and I'll do whatever it takes to make it right, even if it means giving you space. Her voice cracks on the last word, and she bites her lip, trying to hold back tears. I want to feel something, anger, pity, anything, but all I feel is numb. You think space will fix this? I ask, my tone icy. Amanda, I don't even know if there's anything left to fix. Her face crumples, and she looks away, her shoulders shaking. For the first time, I see the weight of her guilt, the genuine regret in her eyes. But it doesn't erase what she's done. I don't have answers for you right now, I say finally. I don't know what I want, or what the future holds. All I know is that things can't go back to the way they were. She nods slowly, her tears falling silently. I understand, she whispers. I watch as she stands and walks away, her steps unsteady. Part of me wants to go after her, to hold her and tell her it'll be okay. But another part, the part that feels the sting of her betrayal, keeps me rooted in place. As the front door clicks shut behind her, I realize she's left to give me the space she promised. I sit there, alone with my thoughts, wondering if space will bring clarity, or just more questions. The silence that follows Amanda's departure is deafening. It's as if the entire house is holding its breath, waiting for something to break the stillness. I sit there, staring at the front door, my mind a tangled mess of anger, sadness, and doubt. I grab my phone from the couch and scroll through my contacts until I land on Mark's name. I hesitate for a moment, unsure if I want to talk about this, but the need for a sounding board outweighs my pride. I press the call button. Mark answers on the second ring. Aaron, what's going on? I exhale slowly, trying to gather my thoughts. She left, I say finally. Not permanently, but she said she'd give me space. There's a pause on the other end, and I can almost hear Mark weighing his words. And how do you feel about that? I don't know, I admit, rubbing a hand over my face. Part of me is relieved, but part of me wonders if I made the right call. Mark's voice softens, a rare moment of vulnerability from him. You're allowed to feel that way, Aaron. What she did was wrong, no question. But you need time to figure out what's best for you. I nod, even though he can't see me. I just don't know if I can ever trust her again. Every time I close my eyes, I see her with him. It's like a scar I can't ignore. That's the thing about scars, Mark says. They don't go away, but they remind you of what you've survived. The question is, do you want to carry that scar into the future with her, or without her? I swallow hard, the weight of his words settling on my chest. I don't know, I say again, my voice barely above a whisper. Mark doesn't push, and I'm grateful for that. Take your time, he says finally, but don't let her manipulate you into rushing back if you're not ready. You deserve better than that. Thanks, man, I say, feeling a small measure of relief from his support. Anytime, he replies. And Aaron, don't forget who you are in this. Don't lose yourself trying to fix what she broke. We hang up, and I sit there for a while, letting his words sink in. He's right. I need to figure out who I am in the wake of this mess. I can't let Amanda's choices define me. A sudden thought hits me, and I grab my laptop again. I log into our shared accounts, digging deeper into our financials and messages. I need to know the full extent of her deception. If I'm going to make a decision about our future, I need all the facts. As I scroll through bank statements and emails, a pattern begins to emerge. Small lies, little omissions, things I hadn't noticed before. Dinner receipts on nights she claimed to be working late. Texts to Chris that she deleted from her phone but forgot to erase from her cloud backup. The evidence piles up, each piece a nail in the coffin of my trust. By the time I'm done, it feels like the air has been sucked out of the room. The betrayal cuts deeper than I realized, and I'm left questioning everything I thought I knew about my wife, about our marriage. I shut the laptop and lean back, closing my eyes. The silence feels heavier now, pressing down on me. But beneath the weight of it all, a new resolve begins to take shape. I don't know what the future holds, but I know one thing for certain. I won't let this define me. I'll rebuild, with or without her. The next morning comes too quickly. Sleep had been fleeting, interrupted by dreams that left me restless and on edge. As sunlight spills into the room, I force myself to get out of bed. The house feels empty, almost hollow, without Amanda here. But strangely, I'm grateful for the solitude. It gives me space to think, to breathe. I make coffee and sit at the kitchen table, the silence wrapping around me like a heavy blanket. My mind churns with questions. What now? Do I let her come back and try to fix this? Or do I start thinking about what life looks like without her? I glance at my phone, debating whether to call my sister, Rachel. She's always been the one to give me the tough love I need, but I hesitate. I'm not sure if I'm ready to hear her opinion. Instead, I focus on something I haven't done in years, a list. Grabbing a notebook, I start writing. 2 columns, stay and leave. Under stay, I list everything Amanda said last night. Her promises, her tears, her willingness to cut Chris off. Under leave, I jot down the lies, the betrayal, the image of her laughing with him in that restaurant. The leave column fills up faster. I stare at the page, the weight of my decision pressing down on me. My pen hovers above the notebook as I debate whether to add one more item to the stay side, the good times. The years we spent building a life together, the moments when we were happy, when I thought we were invincible. But every time I try to write it, I think about how easily she threw it all away. My thoughts are interrupted by a knock at the door. I tense, my pulse quickening. For a moment, I think it's Amanda, but as I walk to the door and peek through the peephole, I see Mark standing there, holding a bag of takeout. I open the door, surprised. Mark, what are you doing here? He grins, holding up the bag. Figured you probably forgot to eat. Thought I'd drop by and make sure you're still alive. I step aside, letting him in. He sets the bag on the table and starts unpacking containers of food, pancakes, eggs, bacon. The smell makes my stomach growl, reminding me I haven't eaten since yesterday morning. Thanks, I say, sitting down as he pushes a plate toward me. You didn't have to do this. Of course I did, he says, grabbing a fork. You're my best friend, and you're going through hell. The least I can do is make sure you're not starving. We eat in silence for a while, the comfort of his presence easing some of the tension in my chest. Finally, he sets his fork down and looks at me. So, he says, his tone serious now. What's the plan? I sigh, running a hand through my hair. I don't know, Mark. She's out there trying to prove she can fix this, and I'm here trying to figure out if I even want her to. He nods, chewing thoughtfully. Fair. But let me ask you this, do you still love her? The question hits me like a punch to the gut. Do I? I loved her once, deeply. But now I'm not sure. The love is tangled up with so much anger and pain that I don't know if I can separate them. I don't know, I admit. I think I do. But I don't know if it's enough. Mark leans back in his chair, his expression thoughtful. Well, here's the thing, man. Love's important, but it's not everything. Trust, respect, loyalty. Those are what hold a relationship together. And right now, she's broken all 3. I nod slowly, his words cutting through the fog in my mind. He's right. Love might still be there, but without trust, what do we really have? You've got time, Mark says, standing and grabbing his jacket. Don't rush into anything. But whatever you decide, make sure it's what's best for you. Not for her. For you. I watch as he leaves, his words echoing in my head. For the first time, I feel a small spark of clarity. Whatever happens next, it's time to start putting myself first. The rest of the day feels oddly quiet. After Mark leaves, I wander through the house, trying to keep my mind occupied. I clean the living room, organize the garage, even tackle the overgrown weeds in the backyard. Anything to keep the thoughts at bay, to stop replaying the images of Amanda and Chris in that restaurant. As the sun sets, I'm in the kitchen making a half-hearted attempt at dinner when there's another knock at the door. My chest tightens, and for a moment, I consider not answering. But the knocking persists, softer this time, almost hesitant. I wipe my hands on a dish towel and walk to the door. When I open it, Amanda is standing there, her eyes red-rimmed and swollen. She looks like she's been crying for hours. In her hands, she clutches a folder, the edges worn from her grip. "Can I come in?" she asks, her voice trembling. I hesitate, my mind screaming at me to tell her no. But there's something in her expression, a vulnerability I haven't seen in years. Reluctantly, I step aside and let her in. She walks to the kitchen table and sits down, setting the folder in front of her. "I've been doing a lot of thinking," she says, her voice barely above a whisper. "About us. About what I've done. And I know I don't deserve another chance, but I need you to understand. I'm not giving up on us." I cross my arms, leaning against the counter. "So, what's in the folder?" She takes a deep breath, opening it and pulling out a stack of papers. "Everything," she says. "My text with Chris, emails, call logs. I even wrote down every detail I could remember about the times we were together." I raise an eyebrow, surprised by the gesture. "Why?" "Because you deserve the truth," she says, looking up at me, her eyes filled with determination. "You deserve to know everything, no matter how painful it is. And if there's even a chance we can fix this, I need to be completely honest with you." I walk over and sit down across from her, eyeing the folder warily. "You think this will fix things?" "No," she admits, "but it's a start." I reach for the papers, flipping through them slowly. It's all there. The messages, the dates, the places they met. It's more than I expected, and the weight of it settles heavily on my chest. "You didn't have to do this," I say, my voice quieter now. "Yes, I did," she replies. "I broke your trust, Aaron, and if there's even a chance of rebuilding it, I need to prove to you that I'm done hiding." Her words hang in the air, and for a moment, I don't know what to say. Part of me wants to throw the papers back at her, to tell her it's too little, too late. But another part, the part that still remembers the woman I fell in love with, feels a flicker of hope. "I don't know if this changes anything," I say finally, setting the papers down. "It's going to take a long time, Amanda. A lot longer than just one apology or one gesture." "I know," she says quickly, "and I'm ready for that. Whatever it takes, however long it takes, I'll do it." I look at her, studying her face for any sign of insincerity. But all I see is a woman who looks as broken as I feel. "We'll see," I say, the words heavy with uncertainty. "For now, that's all I can promise." She nods, her shoulders relaxing slightly. "That's all I'm asking for." As she gathers her things and leaves, I sit at the table, staring at the folder in front of me. It's a small step, but it's something. And maybe, just maybe, it's the beginning of clarity. The house feels heavy after Amanda leaves, the silence pressing against me like a physical weight. I sit at the kitchen table, staring at the folder she left behind. The temptation to burn it, to destroy every trace of her betrayal, lingers. But something stops me. Maybe it's the tiny glimmer of sincerity I saw in her eyes, or the faint hope that there's something worth salvaging. I open the folder again, forcing myself to confront the contents. Each page is a wound, each word a reminder of how far things went. Yet, as I read, I noticed something unexpected, a pattern. Amanda's messages with Chris, while flirtatious and inappropriate, lacked the depth of a true affair. They read like a woman desperate for validation, for attention, anything to fill some void within herself. It doesn't excuse her actions, but it shifts my perspective. This wasn't love. It wasn't even infatuation. It was a mistake born of insecurity. That realization doesn't erase the pain, but it plants a seed of possibility. I close the folder and sit back, staring at the ceiling. Mark's words echo in my mind. Trust, respect, loyalty. Those are what hold a relationship together. Amanda shattered all three, but she's also the one person who seems willing to fight for this marriage. Later that night, I pick up the phone and dial Rachel. She answers on the second ring. Aaron, she says, her voice warm and familiar. What's going on? You sounded off when you texted. I take a deep breath, unsure of how to start. Amanda, she cheated. Or, well, emotionally cheated, I guess. The line goes quiet for a moment before Rachel responds, her tone sharper now. What do you mean? She cheated, but not physically? She got close to a coworker, I explain. Messages, dinners, some hand-holding, but nothing physical. At least, that's what she claims. And you believe her? Rachel asks, her skepticism cutting through the phone. I don't know, I admit. She brought me proof. Messages, dates, everything. She's owning up to it, but it doesn't make it hurt any less. Rachel sighs. Aaron, you've always been the forgiving type, and that's not a bad thing. But you need to think about what you want, not what she wants or what anyone else expects. What do you want out of this? Her words hit me harder than I expect. What do I want? I've been so focused on Amanda's actions, her mistakes, that I haven't stopped to consider my own needs. I don't know, I say finally. I need time. Take it, Rachel says firmly. And whatever you decide, know that you've got people who care about you, no matter what. We talk for a while longer, and by the time I hang up, I feel a small sense of clarity. Amanda's actions hurt me deeply, but I need to figure out if this pain is something I can work through, or if it's a sign that it's time to walk away. That night, as I lie in bed, I make a decision. Tomorrow, I'll meet with Amanda. Not to reconcile, not yet, but to lay out my terms. If she truly wants to save this marriage, she'll have to earn back my trust one step at a time. And if she can't, I'll walk away, knowing I did everything I could. The next day dawns gray and overcast, matching the heaviness in my chest. I don't bother with breakfast, the thought of food turning my stomach. Instead, I focus on preparing for what I know will be one of the hardest conversations of my life. Amanda and I agreed to meet at a neutral spot, our favorite park. It's quiet this early, the pathway's empty except for the occasional jogger. I arrive first and find a bench under a sprawling oak tree, the crisp morning air biting at my skin. I sit there, rehearsing what I want to say, the words tumbling over each other in my mind. When Amanda arrives, she looks nervous. Her hair is pulled back in a loose ponytail, and she's wearing a simple sweater and jeans. For a moment, she reminds me of the woman I fell in love with all those years ago, before life got complicated. But the memory fades as quickly as it came, replaced by the reality of her betrayal. Hi, she says softly, stopping a few feet away. I nod, gesturing for her to sit. She hesitates, then lowers herself onto the bench, keeping a careful distance between us. For a moment, neither of us speaks. The silence stretches, thick with tension. I've been thinking, I start, my voice steady but firm. If we're going to move forward, and I'm not saying we will, but if, we need to set some ground rules. She nods quickly, her eyes wide. Anything, whatever you need, Aaron. I take a deep breath, my hands clasped tightly in my lap. First, transparency. No more secrets, no more lies. I want access to everything, your phone, your email, your social media. If there's something you don't want me to see, that's a problem. Of course, she says, her voice trembling. You can have it all. Second, I continue. Therapy. For both of us, individually and together. This isn't something we can fix on our own. She nods again, her fingers twisting nervously in her lap. I'll find someone. I'll set it up. And third, I say, my tone hardening, you're going to rebuild my trust, step by step. That means no contact with Chris or anyone else who could jeopardize our relationship. And it means proving to me, every day, that you're committed to making this work. Tears well up in her eyes, and she nods fervently. I understand, Aaron. I'll do it. I'll do whatever it takes. I look at her, my emotions a tangled mess of anger, hurt, and faint hope. Amanda, this isn't going to be easy. For either of us. And honestly, I don't know if it'll work. But if you're serious about this, about us, then you have to be all in. No half measures. No excuses. She reaches for my hand, but I pull away, the gesture too much for me right now. Her face crumples, and she folds her hands in her lap, nodding slowly. I am all in, she whispers. I know I've destroyed everything we had, but I want to rebuild it. I want to be the woman you deserve, Aaron. Her words are earnest, but I've heard promises before. This time, I need action, not just empty assurances. We'll see, I say finally, standing up. This is your chance to prove it. Don't waste it. She looks up at me, her eyes filled with a mixture of hope and fear. Thank you, she whispers. Thank you for giving me a chance. I nod, my expression unreadable. I'll be in touch. As I walk away, the weight on my chest feels slightly lighter. It's not forgiveness, not yet, but it's a step toward clarity. Whether Amanda can rise to the challenge remains to be seen. But for the first time, I feel like I'm taking back control of my life. The days that follow are a strange mix of tension and tentative hope. Amanda keeps her word, handing over access to her accounts and cutting off all ties with Chris. She even sends me a screenshot of the email she wrote to him, a curt and final message: "Do not contact me again. This is over." But even as she takes these steps, the cracks in our foundation remain. I still can't shake the memory of that night, the image of her sitting with him, laughing like I didn't exist. Trust feels like a distant dream, something I can see but not touch. True to her promise, Amanda schedules therapy sessions. The first one is individual, and she insists on going alone. I don't argue. She has her own demons to face, and I have mine. I spend the hour she's gone staring at the folder she left on the kitchen table, the evidence of her betrayal, a constant reminder of how far we have to go. When she returns, she's quiet, her face pale and drawn. "It was hard," she says, setting her purse down, "but I needed it. I talked about everything. About us. About why I did what I did." I glance up from my seat on the couch, my skepticism obvious. And I realized how much I took you for granted," she says, her voice trembling. "How I let my insecurities push me to make the worst decisions of my life." Her words hang in the air, and for a moment, I'm unsure how to respond. Part of me wants to believe her, to cling to the idea that this can be fixed. But another part, the part that still aches from her betrayal, remains guarded. "I'm glad you're getting help," I say finally, my tone neutral. "But this is just the beginning, Amanda. It's going to take more than words to fix this." She nods, her eyes downcast. "I know, and I'm ready." The days turn into weeks, and slowly, cautiously, we begin the work of rebuilding. We attend couples therapy, sitting side by side on a worn leather couch as the therapist guides us through the tangled mess of our emotions. It's not easy, far from it. There are moments when the anger boils over, when the pain feels too raw to confront. But for every step backward, we manage to take one forward. Amanda throws herself into the process, determined to prove she's committed. She opens up in ways I never expected, admitting to feelings of inadequacy and fear that she buried for years. And as much as it hurts to hear, I find myself beginning to understand. Not forgive, understand. For my part, I focus on finding myself again. I take up running, pounding out my frustration on the pavement as the early morning sun rises. I reconnect with friends I drifted away from, rediscovering parts of myself that had been lost in the monotony of married life. Slowly, I start to feel like me again, not just Amanda's husband, but my own person. One evening, as we sit on the porch watching the sunset, Amanda turns to me, her expression hesitant. "Do you think we'll ever get back to the way we were?" I look at her, the woman who shattered my heart but is now fighting to piece it back together. "No," I say honestly. "We won't. But maybe that's not a bad thing. Maybe we can build something better." Her eyes fill with tears, and for the first time in weeks, I feel a flicker of hope. Maybe we can. Maybe, just maybe, there's still something worth fighting for. The following weeks are a delicate dance, each step forward balanced on the edge of trust and doubt. Amanda works tirelessly to prove her commitment, her every action aimed at showing me she's changed. She deletes her social media accounts, avoids after-hours work events, and updates me on every move she makes. It feels like overkill, but I know she's trying. In therapy, we start digging deeper. The sessions are grueling, forcing us to confront not just her betrayal but the cracks in our marriage that led us here. I hate admitting it, but there were moments when I became complacent, moments when I didn't notice Amanda's silent struggles. It doesn't excuse what she did, but it gives me a clearer picture of the road we need to take. One night, as we sit in the living room, Amanda pulls out an old photo album. The cover is dusty, the edges worn from years of handling. She opens it to the first page, revealing a picture of us on our honeymoon. We're standing on a beach, the sun setting behind us, our smiles wide and unguarded. "Do you remember this?" she asks softly, her fingers tracing the edges of the photo. I nod, a small smile tugging at my lips. "Yeah, that was the best week of my life." "Mine too," she whispers, her voice thick with emotion. "I want us to find that again, Aaron. I want us to be those people." I meet her gaze, the sincerity in her eyes piercing through my walls. "We're not those people anymore," I say gently, "but maybe we can be something better, stronger." Tears spill down her cheeks, and she nods, her hands trembling as she turns the page. The next photo shows us at our first house, standing on the porch with paint rollers in hand. We look younger, more carefree, unburdened by the weight of betrayal and pain. As we flip through the album, the memories flood back. Our first Christmas together, lazy Sundays in bed, the night we adopted our dog. Each image feels like a thread, stitching together the pieces of what we once had. For the first time in weeks, I feel a flicker of something I thought I'd lost, hope. The next morning, I wake up early and decide to cook breakfast. Amanda stumbles into the kitchen, still groggy, her hair a mess. She stops short when she sees the table set, the smell of pancakes and bacon filling the air. "What's all this?" she asks, her voice laced with surprise. "Just felt like doing something nice," I say with a shrug, flipping a pancake onto a plate. "Consider it a truce." Her lips quiver, and she nods, sitting down at the table. We eat in companionable silence, the tension that's hung between us for so long finally beginning to lift. After breakfast, we take a walk through the neighborhood. The air is crisp, the sky a brilliant shade of blue. For the first time in what feels like forever, we talk, really talk, about our fears, our hopes, the things we've lost and the things we still have. By the time we return home, I feel lighter, as if a small piece of the burden I've been carrying has been lifted. Amanda squeezes my hand as we step onto the porch, her grip firm and reassuring. "I know we have a long way to go," she says, her voice steady, "but I believe in us, Aaron. I really do." I look at her, the woman who broke my heart but is now fighting to mend it. For the first time, I allow myself to believe, even if just a little. "So do I say, and the words feel like a promise. Months pass, and slowly, the wounds begin to heal. They don't disappear entirely. Scars remain, faint reminders of the pain we endured. But Amanda and I find a rhythm, a fragile balance built on honesty and effort. Every day is a choice, a step towards something new. Therapy becomes our anchor, guiding us through the mess of emotions and misunderstandings. Amanda continues to open up, revealing layers of herself I never knew existed. In turn, I confront my own fears and shortcomings, learning to communicate in ways I hadn't before. It's not easy. Some sessions end in tears, others in silence, but the progress is undeniable. One evening, after a particularly difficult session, Amanda surprises me. She hands me a small box, her hands trembling as she places it in mine. "What's this?" I ask, eyeing her warily. "Just open it," she says, her voice soft but steady. Inside is a key, simple, unadorned, yet somehow significant. I look up at her, confused. "It's for the lake house," she explains, "the one we used to rent every summer. I called the owner and booked it for next weekend. Just us. No phones, no distractions." I blink, the gesture catching me off guard. The lake house had always been our sanctuary, a place where we could escape the world and reconnect. The memories tied to it are some of my fondest, Lazy afternoons on the porch, evenings by the fire, mornings filled with quiet laughter. You didn't have to do this, I say, my voice thick with emotion. I wanted to, she replies, her gaze unwavering. I know we're not there yet, but I want us to find a way back to each other. Even if it's just for a weekend. I nod, slipping the key into my pocket. Thank you, I say, the words carrying more weight than I expected. The trip to the lake house feels like stepping back in time. The cabin is just as we left it, cozy and inviting, nestled among the trees with a view of the water that takes my breath away. We spend the days hiking, cooking together, and sitting by the lake, the silence between us no longer uncomfortable but peaceful. On the last night, as we sit by the fire, Amanda turns to me, her expression solemn. Aaron, she begins, her voice barely above a whisper. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I hope, someday, you can find it in your heart to let go of the pain I've caused. Her words hang in the air, and for a moment, I don't know how to respond. Forgiveness isn't something that comes easily, especially after what she did. But as I look at her, I see not the woman who betrayed me, but the woman who's been fighting to make things right. The woman I fell in love with. I'm not there yet, I admit, my voice steady, but I'm willing to try. For us. She nods, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. That's all I could ever ask for. We sit there, the crackling fire our only companion, as the weight of the past begins to lift. It's not a perfect ending. There's still work to be done, wounds to be mended, but it feels like a beginning, a chance to rebuild what was broken. As the flames dance in the hearth, I reach for her hand, threading my fingers through hers. For the first time in what feels like forever, I feel a spark of hope, a belief that, together, we might just make it. Thank you for sticking with the story. If you enjoyed it, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Have you ever faced challenges like this in your own relationships? Share your experiences below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories like this.